Hi, I'm Yannick. I'm working for Teamwork since a few months. As you can hear, I'm French, so I'll try to do my best because it's a long time I didn't do a talk in English. And tonight I want to speak to some concept of functional programming. So 2 years ago, I had the chance to be at Devox, a very big conference in Belgium, but we have Devox France as well. And at that conference, I saw a talk from Koivisto-Kokko about what every expert should know about functional programming. It was very, very interesting, and all the examples were in JavaScript. And it was quite at the same time that in Java, we got Lambda. So when we got Lambda in Java, I had that question, so is it possible to apply some functional programming concept in a non-functional programming language? So, and the extended question is there an advantage to use this concept in other non-really functional programming language, but who have first-class function? So, the goal of that talk tonight, I will just take all the some definition of functional programming language and try to apply that in Java and in JavaScript. So the first one, to do some functional programming language, we need first-class function. So first-class functions mean that function as first-class citizen, as parameters or object for some languages. So in JavaScript, you don't have to verify that. We know that, just like JavaScript is based on function. In Java, it was different because they just add something new, so that something new is function. And so it's the way to write a function in Java. I hope that everyone can read the code. So that keyword is function, and you read that like it takes a string and return a string. And after it's quite the same that you can do with CoffeeScript. So it's just the arrows that define a function. So if you print that in the console, so I get rid of the println or console.log, just like you can imagine them. If I print that in the console, I see that in Java there is a new type, lambda type. If function was an object, so we would have the name of the class and the hash code, like for every object in Java. So there, we know that now in Java we have function as first-class function, so we can do some nice stuff now. So that's the first thing we have to have in the functional programming language. After I will speak about just definition. So the first definition we hear in functional programming is high-order function. High-order function is just a function that takes one function or several functions as parameters and or return a function. That's it. So a dummy example. First in Java, imagine a function twice. That function take a function as parameter, return a function, and do something very smart, just apply twice the function. Okay, so what you can do now is say twice hello. So we give them a function without parameter, apply an argument, and we have hello, hello. A1. That is just a high-order function. You take a function as a parameter and return a function. If you want to do the same with CoffeeScript, yeah, so I said JavaScript, but I did all the example in CoffeeScript, like that is less boilerplate. For people who don't know CoffeeScript, just the arrow is function. And what we have before the arrow is argument of the function. That's it. So there I'm doing quite the same. I define a function, hello, and twice, that time is a little bit different because it will not return a function, it will directly return the result. So, but we can do the same. It's still a high-order function because it takes a function as a parameter. So that time we'll do twice hello, run. Okay, and it will return hello, hello, run, like the previous example. That's not that good. So there is another concept because in twice hello errand we have two tied parameter. The parameter and the function are tied in that definition. So it's why you have currying in functional programming language. Currying is a way to transform a function that takes multiple arguments in a sequence of functions that takes only one argument. Okay? So I'll show the example in exactly the same example we had in CoffeeScript. We had two ways to write that. The first way we used, and the second way. The second way means like twice is a function that returns a function that takes the parameters. So in that way, you can write twice hello run. It's like, it looks stupid, but it's very powerful because when you do that, it means that you can work with the first result, twice hello. Twice hello is a function, so you can do some operation on that function before apply the last argument. So there, it's at the constructions that we are doing the currying, but you can do that afterward. So you have some function. You can create a function curry that takes a function and just create the function that takes only one argument, for example. So that's currying. Functor. Functor it's used a lot in functional programming. It's just like you have a collection and you want to apply a transformation on every element to return another collection. That's the definition of functor. There is several functor very known, like map. Map is a functor. So because it's a functor, I'll try in all the example to just do the implementation, even if the implementation exists, just to show you how we can do that. So if we want to do that in Java, what's a functor? What's map? Map is something that takes a function and a list. What we are doing, we return a new list. So we return new collection. We will iterate on every value of the collection, and to every value we apply the function that we gave as a parameter. So there, a map is just something. You have a list, a function, and the result is the collection where the function is applied on all parameters. So if we apply that on dummy example, so a list of conferences, what we are doing now, it's map, a really sophisticated function that say I want to uppercase all my elements in the list, and the list of the elements, and the result will be, of course, all the elements uppercase. Map is already implemented in Java 8. You have a new interface in Java. It's stream. So directly with the list, you can get the stream. With the stream, you can do map. So map, you just give the function you want. And after, to create the new collection, you have to do collector.list. So it's look weird, but it's because in Java 8 you can chain all the commands. So you can do map with your first function, dot map with another function, dot map with another function, dot collect to list. So it can be very powerful because in Java you can do that with straight as well. You can say that the stream will be threaded, parallel, yeah, something like that. In CoffeeScript, you can do exactly the same. It's really easy. You have the list, dot map, you give the function, and you have the result. So exactly the same spirit. Another functor is filter. So filter have the same spirit. So it will take a function, a collection, return a collection. So we create the new collection. We iterate again on every element of the collection. At that time, we'll use the function as a predicate. So we'll put in the new collection only the elements that respect that predicate. That's a filter. So if you apply that in an example, again, a dummy list of conferences, I want to filter them. I want to have only the conferences that contain G. And so I just use filter, create that function, and apply that to my list of conferences. Again, filter is implemented in Java 8 through string, so you can do conf stream filter your function and collect again. And of course, you can do exactly the same with CoffeeScript and its filter as well. So you can just have an array of string dot filter, give the function to filter your element, and you have the result. So in functional programming, the other keyword you hear a lot is reduce or fold. It's quite the same spirit. So fold is a family of higher functions that process the data structure and build a return value. So in Functor, we had a collection, do some transformation, have a collection. In fold, we will have a collection, have an operation, and return just one value. So if you want to implement that, so reduce, it's something that take an operation, in Java binary operator, and a list. You will iterate on every element of that list, and you will return the operation between two elements of your list. So that is Java. In that implementation, sorry, it's not because it's Java, but you know, it's a ternary operation here just because you don't want to do that for the first element. That's it. So if we want to do the same, we have a list of collection. We can imagine that time it's something that comes from the web services. So it's a collection, and what we want to do, it's inline that collection to just print something somewhere on the web page. So to do that, we will reduce, we'll give it tuple, and we'll define the operation we want between two elements on our list. And we will, of course, the result will be our element inline. That is already implemented in Java as well. So you can do conf string.reduce, give your tuple and the operation between your element. And you can do that in JavaScript as well. So in JavaScript, you can use reduce and just define your function. It's exactly the same way to define the function. Combinator. Combinator, the definition, it's a function with no free variables. It means that a combinator, it's something that use only the parameter to define a new function. It don't have the right to call an external function or something to do an operation in himself. So it just has the right to use the argument to do something. So to illustrate that, a dummy combinator can be a null combinator. So imagine again that you have web services that return a list of conferences, bad web services, because it can return a null in that list. Why not? So if we are doing a map like we did earlier, of course we will have a null pointer exception. We can't touch to uppercase because it's in the library of our language. We can't touch it. So the null combinator will be a wrapper around that function. Because we know that function take a string and return a string, we can do some operation on that string. So for example, there we can just say, okay, that string we will check if it's null, and I choose to say that, okay, if it's null, we will just print null in the list. Why not? And if it's not, then we will apply our function. So if we do that, of course, we will avoid our null pointer exception. And yeah, we just wrap our function in another function. We did something more elaborate. I didn't do the example in CoffeeScript that time because exactly the same. So the last one, composition. Composition, it's very easy to understand. It just combines several functions to create a new function. So if we have to write that in Java, it's really easy. It's just like we create a method that takes two functions, and the return of that method will be the application of that two functions. That's it. If we are doing that in our dummy function up and hello, so the way before to do that is just apply one function and apply the second function to the argument. But that is a better way to do that, like, because compose up hello means that we create a new function. In that case, we can call that shouting hello. And so again, it means that we can add that to our dictionary of function. It's like, and they are doing that a lot in functional programming. So really, functional programming, what they are doing at the bottom is just like create really little function like fold and everything, and just create all the function by combining different little function like that. So combination is really powerful, more than just that little example. You can already do that in Java 8. You can do hello and then up, or up compose hello. It's two keywords that exist in Java. If we want to do that in JavaScript, that function is smarter because it takes like a list of functions and combine all those functions. So there is to code there. On Coffee, you can just say, okay, I want a list and function, reduce all that function, apply the combination of that function on all parameters. So that's what you have there. And in that is the way to do exactly the same in JavaScript, just for people who want two different writing. So, but the result is exactly the same. You can do up, hello, compose up, hello, and apply it to your parameter. So that one just matter because we can just have a third function and whatever. We can compose like a list of functions. So that's it. It's just like it's just the most common example you can find in functional programming. You have like very big concepts, but I'm really not a Java functional programming expert, so I will not speak about model or monoid stuff. What I really wanted to do is that. It's why I just use this simple concept. It's because for me, we take always our up and hello example and a list of name. For me, it's really easier to read the first example. What I want to do, I have a list of name. I want to resolve the name if there is a K in it. I want to shout hello, so I want to put hello in front of every name and do that in uppercase. And I want to write that in line. So for me, it's easier to say that name, filter, map, radius than the code you have under, which is doing exactly the same thing. But what you have in functional programming concepts, you have more readable code. And because you are using this concept, you have to write tiny function as well, so it's easier to test, it's easier to maintain, because as soon as you have like 3 filters and 2 map, when you are doing that with for loop and if, it means you will have like if and for and if and for. So that is very difficult to maintain. If you do that like that, it will be easier. So that's it. If you have some easy question, it's okay. If you have difficult question, I will be more comfortable at the pizza.